So we've gotten a lot more information about Eri in the last few episodes of The Witch from Mercury. And honestly, at this point, it feels like we know more about Eri than we do Suletta. We never got much detail about Suletta's past, and all we really know is that Suletta and Ariel have been together since Suletta was a child. We also aren't sure where Eri stands in regards to Prospera's revenge plans, and how she feels about both her mother and sister. These details are, at least of episode 16, absent from the anime for the most part. However, there is a short novel written that takes place between the prologue episode and episode 1, which also has an audiobook version. In this video, I will be briefly going over this novel, as it gives a lot of context to people who have only been watching the anime. It's free to read from Gundam Info's website, which I will link in the description below. I recommend giving it a read as it's really short and sweet. Also, I'll be throwing up some random anime images of Suletta, Eri, and Prospera with no real relation to what's being described. Without further ado, let's get into it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. The name of the novel is Cradle Planet, and is written by main series writer Ichiro Okuchi. It's written in Eri's perspective when she was already put in Ariel. It takes place between the prologue episode and episode 1, and starts when Suletta was 6 years old. Eri can't speak directly to Suletta, or anyone for that matter, but does listen and blink lights to communicate. The novel starts with a description of Mercury and its surrounding area. It has an orbital base called the Pepe Colombo 23 that rotates around Mercury. Presumably, this is where most, if not all, residents of Mercury live. No one can live on the planet itself, as since it's so close to the sun, you'll burn to death on the surface. Or if in the planet's shadow, we'll drop below 100 degrees Celsius and you'll freeze to death. All in all, very inhospitable to life. We then get an alarm going off, with the base going into emergency mode. Suletta is afraid of this, and generally climbs inside Ariel for comfort at times like this, or when Prospera is at work. Suletta is the only child at Mercury, and Ariel is the only friend she has. Ariel has games programmed in, and both Suletta and Prospera are pretty good at them apparently. Ariel mentions that her mother is her developer, and Suletta is her Gundam test pilot. She even calls Suletta her little pilot, which is adorable. We then skip to when Suletta was 9, running to Ariel explaining that one of the elders of Mercury was being mean to her. She didn't want to tell her mom because she didn't want to make her worry. It's then explained that right after the Vanadis incident, they went to Mercury to seek refuge. And while the people of Mercury agreed to harbor them, not everyone had been giving them the best treatment, and some even wanted to kick them out to avoid trouble. They had nowhere else to go, however. Suletta then asks Ariel about Earth. She mentioned Suletta being too young to remember anything outside of Mercury. She had been interested in life around the Earth sphere, with things like cities, school, and other children. The only thing to do in Mercury is mining for resources and surviving solar winds. Ariel has a library of media from Earth, such as movies, books, and anime, which all contribute to Suletta's interest in life at the Earth sphere. This is an interesting detail, as this explains why Suletta has such a positive outlook on things such as going to school and making friends. After watching her favorite anime, Suletta mutters that saying her mom taught her: if you run, gain 1, move forward, gain 2. Ariel goes on to explain that Prospera taught her this at the age of 5 while trying to give her a shot. If Suletta runs, she'll gain 1 in the avoidance of pain. But if she takes the shot, she'll gain more than 1, that she won't get sick, and that it'll make her mother happy, and that she'll impress the people of Mercury. She also says that she'll level up and the shots won't hurt anymore. Both Suletta and Prospera use this phrase as a means to push forward. The story then jumps to Suletta at 11 years old. There is an incident at one of the mining bases on the surface of Mercury, with a mobile craft going missing. Suletta hops in Ariel and they make their way. The surface of Mercury is still very dangerous, so Suletta and Ariel are sent out in emergencies as they're the best team to handle incidents. As time has gone on, the people on Mercury have been treating them better. They launch out of the orbital base, but are hit by the heat of the sun immediately. Even Ariel can't handle it for long, so they avoid direct sunlight as much as they can. The distress signal was lost 97 minutes prior, so they try to hurry to the site. The missing person is the leader of the elders, and one of the ones who are still mistreating Suletta. They were even one of the ones against taking them in the first place. Despite this though, Suletta still does her best to save them. They make their way through Mercury's terrain, using the mountains and valleys as cover from the direct sunlight. They finally get a signal from the machine and proceed with the rescue. During its excavation work, there was a cave-in, burying the machine and making it a lost cause. Their only option is to open up the cockpit and save the pilot. Suletta opts to use the beam saber to cut through the cockpit, as dangerous as that is. She lowers the output of the beam saber and carefully slices the cockpit open. Suletta calls out to him, though he responds pretty ungratefully. He only has 7 minutes of air left in his tank, but Suletta says they'll make it back in 4. They start making their way back, Suletta covering him from the sunlight. She takes some shortcuts and makes it back in exactly 4 minutes, just like she said. Everyone was waiting for their return, and after setting the old man down, he starts yelling at Suletta. It was a hurried and bumpy way back, which he wasn't happy about. Prospera then appears on the monitor, welcoming Suletta back. She praises both Suletta and Ariel, and says she'll be staying until her birthday. With her promotion, she's been spending a lot of time in the Earth sphere. This will, however, be the last birthday she spends with Suletta. Another time skip happens, and Suletta is now 15. Prospera is still busy in the Earth sphere, and Suletta feels lonely. She climbs into Ariel and asks what schools are like. Ari doesn't know, as she's never been to one due to obvious reasons. Suletta wonders if it's like the one she's read in manga, and that she would like to go. Ari shoots down ever going to the Earth sphere, because of their mom being a witch. She reassures that she'll always be with Suletta, no matter what. Suletta says if they ever go, that they'll go together. A year later, Suletta, 16 now, their mom returns. Prospera talks to Ari in private, mentioning the Astacacia School of Technology holding the mobile suit duels. She learned about a winner being able to marry Delling's daughter, Miorine. Delling, as we know, being the target of her revenge. Apparently, their Mercury base is also part of Benerit Group's assets. Prospera says she is sending them to the school. It's at this point we get to see how Ari feels about Prospera's revenge plan. While Ari doesn't mind going through with it with Prospera and herself, she never wanted Suletta to be a part of it. The next day, Prospera had told Suletta about going to school. Suletta went to tell Ari, though she already knew. Prospera did not tell her what her true intentions of sending them there are, and instead told her to study hard and make Mercury a better place. Ari knows Prospera is using her as a tool for her revenge, but laments that she can't go against her, being her creator and all. Still, Ari wishes Suletta to do what she wants, that she doesn't have to be a tool for their mother's revenge, and that she can just run. Suletta ponders about actually going, but in the end, decides to move forward and gain 2, just like their mother taught them. Ari gives Suletta her blessing, telling her to count all the things she'll get instead of the things that she could lose. Suletta says they'll be fine as long as they're together. Ari reciprocates the feeling, saying of course they will be, their family. And that's the end of the novel. It gives us a lot of context regarding Suletta's childhood and the whole family's relationship. Prospera had very much neglected and manipulated Suletta all throughout her childhood in her quest for revenge, but Ari has always been there for Suletta. While Ari doesn't agree with Prospera's plans and would rather leave Suletta out of it, she has to do what she can. Also, I get the impression that Ari is much more mature than what you would assume, seeing as how she became Ariel at around age 4. She doesn't act childish in the slightest, and has a very positive outlook for Suletta. I'm sure Prospera will continue to push Suletta into doing worse things, and I can't wait to see Ari or Suletta's breaking point with that. In any case, I wanted to make this video to give the context of this novel to anyone who is anime only, and hasn't read or listened to it. It was actually released in English back in November, but I hadn't read it until very recently, so it was a very enlightening read. Again, I'll leave a link to it in the description if you wanted to check it out yourself. Also, if you found this video insightful, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it, and it's the best way to support me right now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.